Hello everybody, I'm Alexander de Haan, teacher and module manager of this course, Principles of Policy Analysis, EPA1113. It is a little bit of a strange course, different than most things you are used to so far. For instance, this course does not have something like the correct answer. For example, let's have a look at your math book from high school. It was a thick book with lots of theory and a lot of questions that you had to solve. The answers to those questions were relatively short. They fitted on a few answering pages at the back of the book, or as with my math book, in a separate, very thin little book. The answers looked very simple, like 2.8 or x squared. And there was no discussion if this was the right answer or not, unless of course there was a mistake in the list of answers in your book. If you kept on calculating, you would always come to the right answer, if you understood the theory well enough. In this course, the questions that we ask are most of the time quite simple. Something like, what's going on here? Most of the time followed by the question, what can we do about it? The answers to those questions are not so easy. And, worse, everybody involved in the problem has different answers. This makes that the questions we ask fit in easily on a few pages of answers of your math book, but that the answers that we create need as much space as your complete math book. And why is that? Well, the problems that we try to help solve emerge because so many people are involved. Often these people in the problem use technology. This pure technology is quite predictable. Aircraft wings bend downwards if you step on them. They do that today, but also tomorrow in exactly the same way. Aircraft wings do not suddenly start bending upwards when you step on them. As soon as people get involved and start using the technology, there is suddenly unpredictable behavior. Depending on the mood of the people, the quality of their coffee, the weather, their interests, their mutual dependencies, people behave completely different. Tomorrow, differently than today, and the day after tomorrow may be more or less the same as yesterday. Imagine that you want to construct a high-speed rail line in the Netherlands. Or that there is natural gas available that you want to drill, to start using it or selling it. Who is involved then? For the high-speed rail line, this will be the people that will be using it in the end, the passengers, but also the engineering firm who did the design, the builder of the infrastructure, the firm that built the high-speed train itself, the government who has to make new regulations for this specific application, the people living near the railway line who do not want to have that line running through their backyard because it's noisy or it doesn't look so nice, the taxpayer who does not want to pay for the line, unless he uses it himself, but still then preferably not too much. And who has to carry out the job? Who is responsible? Society often says that the government should solve everything. Companies also want to do it, if they get paid for it. Or should there be a public tendering in this case? And who should organize that? Drilling for natural gas is by far not easier. There is a company that can drill for the gas, get it out of the ground. This company likes to use its expertise, as long as it gets paid. Somebody wants to sell the natural gas. Somebody wants to use it. Somebody has to transport it from where it's taken out of the ground to where it will be used. Somebody will have to be responsible for the safety and security issues. Work has to comply to certain rules and procedures. And the people living close to the site might be afraid for explosions or for earthquakes. These are all different people with different ideas about what the problem is, with different ideas about what should be done to solve the problem, and with different ideas about who should do it. It's not always like that. Especially over the last years, there seems to be a trend that more and more people get involved in problems, and so that these problems become more and more complex. Sometimes this is not the case, and especially in the past, this certainly has not always been the case. Have a look at this picture. What do you see? This is the first so-called Delta Committee of the Netherlands, installed after a very serious flooding disaster in the Netherlands in 1953. These people are all but one engineers, and these people are all but two civil engineers. This clearly is a problem situation in which we very quickly all agreed on what the problem was, flooding, and also on what should be done about it, building dikes. The only question left was how to build the dikes. Later in the 1970s, the pressure for safety was felt less intensely. Other interests suddenly received attention, like environmental protection or the breeding of mussels. an intended inflexible rigid dike was redesigned into a flexible storm surge barrier. This course, Principles of Policy Analysis, has the objective to help you in getting a grip on situations with lots of actors and uncertainty. Who are involved? What is, according to these stakeholders, the problem? What possibilities do they have to solve the problem? And how can we make a choice out of all these possibilities? How can you use the content of this course in practice? For this, we interviewed two former students, Wouter and Lonneke, who now work at the Dutch International Airport of Schiphol.
First of all, welcome at Amsterdam Airport Schiphol. It's a beautiful airport. I still use a lot of the TBM knowledge I learned a couple of years ago. What is very important when you start a project, that it's clear what is the goal, and that you have good data to support the challenge you're facing. If that's not in the right order, people will have different views, different opinions, and it's very difficult to align everybody's view. And what is also very important, and I use every day, is to understand what drives people or parties. At this airport we work together with a lot of different parties to create a product flying. We work with baggage handlers, airlines, commercial parties, but also authorities from the government. So you really have to understand what drives them to be able to come to a solution.
If we go back a little bit in time to the very first course you had in the TPM faculty, which is Principles of Policy Analysis, what do you still use from that course?
Well, setting a clear goal for the team, having good data to support the analysis and the challenge, and to assess the drivers of each people. Those are very important to start with, and when you do this in a proper way, the rest of the project is much easier.
When you're looking for people to work in your teams, in your projects, is there anything particular in characteristics in these people that you're looking for?
What is very important is that people have analytical skills, to be able to understand the data, but also to be able to ask the question behind the question, because not everybody is telling the truth in the first time. And the second thing which is very important is social skills, to be able to connect people and to make people feel confident in the project, to together reach the goal you defined.
Lonneke, from your knowledge, from the knowledge you gained at the TPM faculty, what do you see in your daily practice?
In my daily practice I work with complex problems, and in these complex problems a lot of stakeholders are involved, and all these stakeholders of course have different objectives or goals, so you have to reach together, you have to find a solution for all these stakeholders.
And if you look particularly at the course Principles of Policy Analysis, is there anything you still use?
In the first years working at Schiphol, I still use the book of this course, which was the only book I had on my desk at Schiphol. So I still use it for especially the stakeholder analysis and the goal trees.
You work in a lot of teams. If you hire somebody for your team, are there any particular characteristics that you're looking for in such a person?
If I want to hire someone for my team, I think the most important thing is that he has quite a strong analytical skills as well as social skills, because it's very important to get all the stakeholders together, so you have to create support. So your social skills are very important as well.
Alexander, Wouter and Lonneke told you about this course of getting a grip on complexity. Also about the problem that such a course doesn't have something like the correct answer with which you have to deal. Before you start working on the first assignment, now study the first chapter of your book. After that, make a 1-minute pitch to explain what this course is about to your students in your student home, to the students of your society, your friends, parents or people who raised you, your brothers and sisters. And did this part of this video go too fast for you? Please go back to that point and watch the full video again. Good luck with everything and enjoy this course.